Hi, this is Jolyn from One Heart TV, and I'm welcoming back one of my favorites ever, ever, ever. We're going to be talking about health and wellness, and I think we're going to do some regular talk abouts. This is Zahrah Sita, and we are back. I don't know what she's going to talk about, but I can guarantee it's going to be fabulous. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It's good to be back. And yeah, nice day. Nice to see you. Happy to be here. Happy to have another discussion and share some good ideas with the world. So
Yes.
we had discussed doing like talking about gut health and fermentation and all that. So if you want to, we can dive into that today.
Let's go. Let's go and see where it goes. Like I said, this is a talk about between two friends here, and let but you're the one with the expertise, so I want to remind people. So yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead. Please share.
Well, yeah. So do you enjoy any fermented foods or include any in your regular life in your diet?
Good question. I did make my own sauerkraut. A friend showed me how, and because I'm still dealing with some issues and mouth issues, I do have a little trouble with it, but I
Mm,
know it's really good for
yeah.
your gut.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of fermented foods. Looking back on my own personal health history, which really led me into being in where I am now and working in holistic health and educating people about health and helping people try to achieve better health. My own personal health issues many years ago set me on that path. And I had a lot of different stuff going on in my body. I won't get into all of that right now, but definitely my gut. My gut was not functioning at its highest and best. And I developed a lot of sensitivities to certain foods, a lot of reactions, just a lot of gut issues, bloating and pain. And of course, then that affects a lot of other things. When your gut's not healthy, it can lead to a lower immune function, lower brain function, more inflammation. And so I experienced all of that on top of a whole cascade of other issues I was dealing with. And so over the years of learning how to heal myself, heal my gut, and how to eat right, for myself and for health and for healing, one of the things that became part of, my regular healing practice and just diet was including fermented foods for the probiotics, for the enzymes, to assist with digestion and to help heal my gut. And in the beginning, I really didn't know, that much other than just the basics that they can be healthy for you, good for your gut, etc. Over the years, I got pretty deep into learning more, studying, and making a lot of my own ferments and seeing, really the positive effects on myself, on my family, with my children. And so, now I am not making as many from scratch as I used to, but I still use a lot of them. And as time permits, I do like to make a lot of my own things. So that's really what led me to get deeper into using and studying and learning about and teaching about fermented foods. I wouldn't say it's my ultimate like expertise, but I would definitely know enough to share and help people get started on that path.
I
There's
can tell you that our ancestors did this. They fermented all foods because they had to store foods, right? If you have an excess, like I do right now, of apples,
hmm
and if you had them like plums, and you have tomatoes, and so forth. And so this is not new stuff. This is
Oh,
tried
it's
and true.
very old stuff. It's
Yeah,
very old stuff. And
yeah.
I mean, even just not as old, like say all the original condiments, a lot of the condiments that we love to have, like say, ketchup and vinegars and all these things. Well, they were always fermented they used to be. They're not anymore. I mean, the vinegars can be, and ketchup rarely is, but a lot of the early condiments were fermented foods. And you'll see that, in a lot of traditional cultures, a lot of them still use fermented foods and have them at meals regularly. And there was a doctor, actually, he was a dentist some years back, Dr. Weston Price, and he was very fascinated with human health. He was curious about the effect of diet on human health. And he was studying, bone structure and dentistry, but overall health as well. And he traveled all over the world and he studied many different cultures, many indigenous cultures, traditional cultures, in many places. And one thing he found is that in almost every traditional indigenous culture, there was some kind of fermented food.
Hmm.
And it got him very curious. He did a lot of research on the fermented foods and published papers. He wrote a whole book about the diets of traditional cultures, and the effects on health and what happened when more modern foods came in, more refined foods, less fermented foods, more processed foods. And he saw the changes in overall health, also in bone structure, in dentistry, and all kinds of things.
Wow.
But one thing that he found was that by eating fermented foods with our meals, it really elevates the assimilation of minerals and other nutrients. We get more assimilation of those minerals and nutrients, which then in turn can contribute to stronger bones, better teeth, healthier tissues, healthier immune system. So,
And we're
yeah.
really lacking in minerals, aren't we?
Yeah, nowadays we are,
Wow.
unfortunately, unless we're supplementing, because, even eating a very diverse diet, rich diet with a lot of abundant, good, healthy foods, the soil is not the same as it used to be. Our soil has been depleted through many different practices that, aren't very healthy for the planet, but especially like monocropping and different agricultural practices, uses of different chemicals in agriculture has caused a lot of issues with our soil. So we have a lot of depleted soil, doesn't have the same mineral content it used to, which then would in turn, put more mineral content in the foods we're eating. So the foods our grandparents ate and their grandparents ate is a lot different than what we have today. And so unfortunately, I really recommend people eat as much of a healthy diet, nutrient dense diet as possible. Definitely include fermented foods if you're able to eat them, and supplement with some minerals.
What are you talking about when you say nutrient, help the people out? What do you mean by nutrient foods?
Nutrient dense foods, real foods to start with, real foods,
Okay,
not
okay.
processed foods, not foods that have been stripped of their nutrients, bleached, fiber
Yeah.
removed, processed, things like that. Eat a diet that's very abundant in healthy whole foods, foods that are in their whole state. You might chop it up and cook it, but it's a whole food to start with. You're not like refining it, removing things. You're using that whole food. So all the nutrients that are able to be in that food are in that food, and then you're going to get more of that than eating processed food. So for example, there's a lot of people who eat very, very refined and processed diets, eating a lot of, say, white flour products, refined sugar, etc. Those foods have almost no nutrients in them. They're empty calories, meaning that they're only going to contribute to things like inflammation and the forming of mucus and congestion and all kinds of other things, higher blood sugar, etc. Whereas if you're eating whole foods, it's a whole different story. It helps manage your blood sugar and give you more of the nutrients and vitamins you need so that you can be healthier and not have so much inflammation and propensity towards illness and disease. So, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, in 2014, I brought this up a few times, and I have to share because it was my turnaround.
Mhm.
Again, you said you became bloated, and one of the things that was I was dry mouth, a dry, burning tongue, burning lips. My joints were like on fire, and I was like burning from the inside out. That was my wake up call in 2014. Went to doctors. They said, unfortunately, to suck on an ice cube for my burning tongue and mouth. And I was like, what? And then I got tested by a homeopath who found I was allergic to the the dairy products, which is the white flour, a lot of it with breads, um, eggs, and different things. So once I cleared those out, boy, did my body turn around. I didn't know food was power.
Oh, food it's our foundation of health. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be very powerful to help us heal, from herbs and supplements and medicines and therapies and all that. But without food, without the foundation of a good diet, it's pretty much impossible to have our optimal health. We might be a little healthier than someone else, but I'm talking optimal health, where we're really thriving, where we have vitality, where our bodies, we feel good in our bodies. And a lot of people don't know that's possible. They think that, life is painful, the body's painful, it's normal to be tired all the time, it's normal to have digestive issues. Well, it might be normal nowadays, but it's not healthy. That's not how we're meant to be. That's not how a human is meant to live. Actually, we're meant to live with virtually almost no pain and inflammation, and to have plenty of energy to get through the day and to sleep well and to feel well. And without good nutrition, it's virtually impossible. because food is, think of it like if you have a vehicle and you put the wrong fuel in there, it could totally destroy the vehicle, or it just won't run at its, highest and best. Or if you use a low quality fuel, it's not going to run as well. And so it's the same thing with our body. If we're putting low quality fuel in here, we're not going to run as well. But if we put, good nutrition and the right fuel, the fuel that, our cells and all of our body loves to thrive on, we're going to do a lot better.
I've heard a lot about it's so true. And I love that you give up a example like in a material world like a car. That's perfect for people to get. They understand that. So why
Mhm.
would it not be any different for us, almost to the point where we need avocados for that good oil. Our car needs oil.
Yeah.
I kind of think of it those terms. But going back, let's get back to the fermentation. So you were
Yeah.
talking, I love this stuff, but it is all about the gut. Why fermentation? Why do we want acid, I've heard, in our stomachs as opposed to people trying to deplete it by taking Tums or something? I've heard that.
Well, there's different types of acids. So if we're eating something sour, naturally sour, say lemons, limes, naturally fermented foods, there's a sour aspect to it, but they're not acidic. They're actually more alkalizing to our system. And so certain foods actually that aren't as sour tasting create more acidity, say like the white flour products,
Right.
refined sugar, those types of things. They don't taste sour, but they're very acidic. And so when we add these alkalizing foods in, it helps us a lot. It brings balance to that acidity. We're never going to be completely acidic or completely alkaline. Either way, we would not be living. But we want to find that happy medium, but we tip towards acidity. So when we add more alkalizing things, it can help bring our balance, our pH balance, and our our digestive system into balance. Yet also, eating these things, it's not creating acidity. The sourness of those things is also representing certain enzymes and certain beneficial bacteria that are there that actually help the digestive process.
Oh,
We
okay.
need, we need a certain amount of acidity in our gut and certain enzymes to be present to digest the foods we're eating. And so if you have an over-alkalized gut, you're not going to digest well. And also, if you have an overacidic gut, you might have issues like, say, heartburn and acid reflux and indigestion. And so we want to calm that down. The fermented foods shouldn't aggravate that. But there can be a process sometimes when someone's, going through a lot of health issues, gut issues, especially if there's a lot of candida and bacteria, things like that. They might go through a little bit of an adjustment period. They might not feel immediately better because sometimes there's a process where things have to come to the surface, be released, be resolved before they start to feel better. And so sometimes that can happen with fermented foods, starting to introduce them. That's why it's good to introduce a small amount at a time. Don't go for like heaping plates of
Yeah.
sauerkraut, and you don't need that much ever anyways. But instead of having maybe several tablespoons of it, maybe start with a teaspoon and work your way up so that your gut can get used to that process.
Okay.
Feel
Now you're just sharing a light bulb for me. So did I put probably too much on it? My favorite was egg salad sandwiches in a lettuce wrap, and then I
Mhm.
put the sauerkraut to give it a little kick, and boy,
Yeah.
was it was good. What's one of your favorites?
I love sauerkraut. I used to make sauerkraut a lot. So I do like that. I'm trying to think what else. I like kimchi, but I'm a real sensitive one when it comes to spice. So if it's too spicy, it's hard for me. Miso is another one. I think it's one that
Oh,
people don't think about a lot, but wow, it has so much potential for helping us heal and doing some amazing things that some of the other ferments don't do, such as helping detox radiation that might be stored in the body. I
radiation.
really love miso a lot. There's a lot of like, say, pickled vegetables. Sometimes I really like those if they're, and so with pickles and ferments, they need to be raw in the sense that they haven't been pasteurized or, heated at a high point. So if you're finding like your sauerkraut on the shelf, like in the grocery store and not in the refrigerator, that's not the right type. You always want to get it from where it needs to be. Usually might be shelf stable, but a lot of the ferments are refrigerated.
Yeah.
So I'd say, some of the vinegars I use kind of often, like apple cider vinegar. And when I was in Costa Rica, we used to make banana vinegar, which was a very,
Oh,
very wonderful, nutrient-dense vinegar that doesn't taste anything like bananas. If you don't like bananas, don't worry. It doesn't taste like bananas. It
how
tastes
would you use it?
just
Never
like apple cider vinegar or any other vinegar. It is a
on
really
your
nice
salad.
color. Yep, on salads, in dressings and sauces, anywhere you'd use vinegar. It's a very nice vinegar for meals and culinary use. So those are a lot of the ones I like. There's a really nice brand if you do buy vinegars, and they have a lot of kind of more higher end gourmet, experimental, interesting artisan vinegars. It's called Acid League, and so all of their vinegars are alive. They're not pasteurized or heated in any way. They're not refined or anything like that. And so they have the living organisms in there, the enzymes and bacteria that, we need to make the fermented foods healthy and good. And they have a lot of different ones. Like they have your classic like balsamic and apple cider vinegars, but a lot of really interesting ones using different ingredients too. So I started using some of their products a couple years ago. I like those ones as well.
One of the
But yeah.
interesting things is, and I'm going to go to somebody just starting out. Let's say you don't want to make it, you don't have time to make anything, but you'd like to buy it off the shelf. And I know that some of those sauerkrauts, I've seen them and I've tasted them, they have sugar in it. So, what would you say about,
Oh gosh, I've never had one with sugar in it.
yeah,
Um,
it tastes good, but I was like, when I looked at it, I go, my mom always used to have a saying, if it tastes good, it's not good for you.
That's not true. Oh, I guess it depends what your taste buds like, though,
Yeah,
because I love
sugar.
berries. They're good for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I love that are good for me. I would say, yeah, watch out for anything like that, at least that has sugar in it. That's not necessary. Now, some things, like say kombucha, is traditionally grown on sugar is one of the ingredients, but through the fermentation process, it digests that sugar, so it's not like a high sugar food. And there's some that might digest it longer to make it even more of a low sugar food, or beverage. But other than that, like sauerkraut and kimchi, unless they used a little sugar for the fermentation process, but that's not really necessary with those things. You don't with at least with those. Some things might use a little sugar for fermentation, but not those. So I wouldn't eat those ones. There's a lot of good. If you get to like any stores that sell organic foods, artisan foods, health foods, etc., go to the refrigerated section. There's usually a variety of say sauerkrauts and kimchis and miso and pickles and these types of things. And there's a lot of good brands. My advice is least additives and things like that, and the most organic as you can get if you can.
Most organic you can get. I know. I've got to start doing, as I told you, I have an abundance of apples, and I should
Mm.
get to learning how to can because
Yeah.
it's
And
good. It's a good thing.
canning, drying, those are great ways to preserve things. Freezing too, if certain things. I've been picking a lot of wild berries and wild grapes and more than I can eat or use at the moment. And I'll use them for other things, but freezing them. And sometimes I'll dry things like when we had a lot of tomatoes coming out of the garden in the summer. I did a lot
Right.
of dried tomatoes. We have a dehydrator and making like olive oil, preserving things in olive oil. Like I
Right.
preserved some of the dried tomatoes in olive oil and preserved some basil flowers to make like a oil.
That, that
Yeah.
sounds, oh, what time's dinner? That's great.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great. Going back to minerals, I was watching a little Facebook thing came up with Dr. Christian Northrup, and I was able to interview her. And we were talking about depletion of minerals in our soil, in our food, and in our water. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I'm going to share something here. She mentioned, and I've been trying it. I bought this blue bottle, and there's something about this blue that you put
I love
water in.
that. I love
You,
blue
s-
bottles.
you sit it out in the sun for an hour, she said, and it replenishes it back to the original form of what
Nice.
our water used to be. So I'm going to get it tested by the water people and see if
Yeah.
it's true. But I
Oh,
think I think it tastes better as it does. I do.
that's awesome. I
I do.
love blue bottles. I have a Levi, my partner, would love to see that. I'll have to tell him about it because I have a blue bottle project going on. I'm collecting blue bottles similar to that. I'm starting to put them all over the top of my kitchen cabinets. I'm doing a whole blue bottle project up there. So when I saw that, I'm like,
I think you could pull one down, put some water in it, and
oh
put it in the
yeah,
sun for an
we use
hour.
them. We have some extras that we use for water bottles too. There's
Perfect.
this company, this brand, at least they sell here in the stores, in some of the stores called Sarasota. It's a spring water, but it comes in those beautiful blue bottles.
I wonder if there's something around that.
Yeah, they're
Saying.
nice.
You never know. Oh, this has been wonderful. I'm going to have us do this more on a regular basis, if you don't mind. And there's
Absolutely.
so much to talk about, right, Sarah? So, I'll have you back maybe in a couple weeks again, if you're willing, and we'll just pick a topic and talk about it and see what happens. But it's all about gut, y'all. It's all about your gut. And one of the things that Zara's recommending is fermentation. Do you have any last thoughts, or anything coming up?
Well, definitely, just what Jolene said. We're talking about the gut at the moment. Take care of your guts. Do everything you can to eat well, live well, be well. And if you want to improve your gut, add a little fermented foods with your meals. I will give just a little disclaimer and warning. Certain people who are dealing with, if you have a high histamine issue, something like mast cell activation syndrome, things like that. Sometimes fermented foods activate histamines and you might have a reaction. And sometimes if that's what's going on, it's good to actually just pause, not have the fermented foods.
Okay.
And so that's why I had said earlier, if you're able to have them, but other than that, most people should be able to have some fermented foods. There really aren't other health issues that typically would be like, oh, you can't have them with that. But I do know from actually going through mast cell activation in my past, and when the histamines were really high, fermented foods can aggravate that. So sometimes you got to stop it for a little bit and work on some other stuff to get the histamine levels down. That's not your
Wonderful.
issue. Yeah, if
Wonderful.
that's not your issue, go ahead and enjoy them. Like I said, if you're new to it, start with a smaller amount, maybe just a spoonful. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I forgot to mention kefir, yogurt. Those
That's
are two
right.
I like. I don't really do a lot of dairy. I love coconut yogurt, and there's some really, really good coconut yogurt out there. So,
And good
um,
recipes too, right?
yeah, yeah,
Even to
it's
make
easy to make.
desserts, all kinds of things. Yeah.
Mhm, absolutely.
I love this. I love this, chatting with you once again, and I suspect we'll be back. I don't know what the topic will be, but I have a good feeling it'll be
Yeah,
very
well, maybe
interesting.
people could also give us ideas in the comments. They could.
Do that, people. We would love what you want to learn. If you're just brand new of how to take care of your gut and feel fabulous at any age, this whole getting old, that's a fallacy.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
It's not true. But it's up to us. It's our vessel. I'm not in your body. You're not in my body, but I do want to take care of my body for as long as I can.
Me too.
Oh, Zara, thank you so much again. I'll put the link for your website where they can get a hold of you. And once again, what do you do through your?
On my website, we'll find is there is a full body cleanse program for people who really want to go and do
Wow.
a deep kind of cleaning and reset and rejuvenation of your system. It's
Okay.
something that's designed to be done in your daily life. You don't have to take any time off work or anything like that. So that is available. I also I meet with a lot of people and I do health consulting and health coaching. Helping them really achieve their health goals, overcoming disease, improving their health, creating healthier lifestyles. And so those are the main things on my website. Also, my blog, there's a lot of good information, education, and things that I've shared there. And so you can also contact me through my website if you have any questions or need to get hold of me. There's a contact page.
Well, we're Facebook friends, and the articles and things you post are just wonderful. So I highly recommend you look her up. Again, Zara Sita, thank you so much. We will
Yeah.
be back in a couple weeks with something else, and just stay tuned, stay happy, and peace. Love to you all. This is Jolyn from One Heart TV. We'll see y'all soon. Bye bye.
Hi, everyone.